Louis Vuitton, one of the most luxury brands in the world, valued today at $30 billion. Its history dates back over 150 years. It began with a homeless boy who, with nothing but determination, created one of the most successful fashion houses in the world. Louis Vuitton was born on 4th of August 1821 in Anchaille, France, to a family of farmers and hat makers. Due to the Napoleonic Wars, during that time many farmers, including the Vuittons, were broke. Young Louis had to work on the family farm. He planted and harvested crops, raised animals, and stockpiled firewood. When Louis was just 10 years old, his mother passed away, and his father remarried a woman who was described as one of those wicked mothers from fairy tales. She made Louis' life miserable. Eventually, he was done. At the age of 13, he moved to Paris all alone with no money or food. He did odd jobs. He worked for artisans and craftsmen, where he learned to work with metal, stone, fabric and wood. But he still didn't have enough money, and he was homeless. At that time, the first railway line to Paris opened. Traveling became more accessible. This was an opportunity the craftsmen capitalized on. They started making custom boxes for aristocrats who traveled. They often carried paintings, instruments, and furniture, and needed boxes to fit all these without causing damage. Since Louis learned skills required to make these boxes, he decided to get into this business. A craftsman named Monsieur Marchal hired Louis as an apprentice. Louis didn't earn much, but he did learn a lot. He became a favorite among Marchal's clients. Later, the Empress of France appointed Louis as her personal box maker. After working for the Empress, Louis became famous and he opened his first shop. At that time, boxes were rectangular in shape, made of leather, and the lids were dome-shaped so the water could run off the top instead of soaking through the leather. But it made the boxes impossible to be stacked and difficult to load. Louis wanted to change this, so he experimented with different materials and decided on canvas, as it was lighter, more durable than leather, and was water resistant. This allowed the boxes to have flat lids so it could be stacked and making it easier to load since it was lighter than leather boxes. Waterproofing compounds were used, which gave it a grey, modern, clean look, creating a slat trunk, which marked the birth of modern suitcase. And within 2 years, it took off, and it became a must-have accessory. At the time, handbags were not popular in the society, considered bulky and inelegant. But Louis believed that handbags had potential, and he wanted to create a new invention. So he started making handbags with canvas. And that style took off and created a lot of demand. But Louis couldn't meet it by himself, so he asked his son George to help him. George, like his father, had ideas to change the industry standards. He created the tumbler lock, which replaced the older locks which could easily be picked, making the trunks theft-proof, and gave it a treasure chest-like appearance. The family's products were becoming popular, but unfortunately, things didn't go so well. The Franco-Prussian War erupted and destroyed the business, making Louis homeless for a second time. Louis and his family were forced to leave home and workshop, and were forced to live in harsh conditions with thousands of refugees. When the war ended, Louis came home to find that his workshop was completely destroyed and looted. But due to the war, property prices had fallen. Louis took this opportunity and used the remaining of his savings to buy a shop in the upscale district. And within months, his business flourished again. He got orders from all over the world. Louis decided to try bold and more fashionable designs for his products. In 1870s, the technology was advanced enough to print on fabrics, and since canvas is a fabric, Louis created a new line of trunks with striped canvas. The new design was a hit. It was stylish and stood out in the crowd. Louis eventually received many international orders, and he opened a shop in London. The expansion increased his clientele to more royals and explorers. In 1892, Louis decided to release a catalogue of his products to make ordering easy. But in the same year, unfortunately, he passed away, aged 72, and nobody really knows the cause of his death. George was now in charge of what's next with the business. He did not try to expand further. Instead, he went to the Chicago World Fair 1893, and the experience made him realize that he needed an international sales network. At the fair, he meets John Wanamaker, the person who pioneered the concept of departmental store and the price tag. John, after meeting George, decided to sell LV trunks in his New York department store. In 1896, George created the LV monogram, a floral pattern with interlocking L and V, in memory of his father. Eventually, the new design took off. George traveled all over US and developed a distribution network. George and his son Gaston continued creating new designs like Louis did. Until 1930s, they created some noteworthy designs like the Kipal, a bag for everyday use, the Noé, a bag to carry wine and champagne, and Elvis' design, the Alma, for Coco Chanel. George had plans to take the business to new heights, but in 1936, he passed away, now putting the business in his son Gaston's hand. And unfortunately, at that time, World War II began, cancelling all contracts. So Gaston had to shut down all LV factories and stores. Controversially, Louis Vuitton collaborated with the Nazis in World War II when they had occupied France. They were the only shop allowed to operate, and the Vuitton family benefited financially with this collaboration. After the war ended, Gaston involved his three sons, Claude, Jacques, and Henry, into the business and wanted to rebuild the business under Gaston's guidance. They released new models of luggage each year. After Gaston's passing in 1970, the business stagnated. Hard-sided luggage started losing popularity, and the three sons couldn't decide how to run the company. So they asked their sister's husband, Henry Racamier, to take over the business. Henry had founded a steel trading company and sold it for a huge profit. He was good at business. Henry changed the business from wholesale to retail and got the business into Asian markets. Within 6 years, the company sales increased from $20 million to more than $260 million. And soon, Henry took the company public. And in a few months, Henry started opening stores all over the world. And in just a few years, the company reached sales of $1 billion. And the company ended up merging with Moet Hennessy, a cognac and champagne producer, and formed the conglomerate LVMH as we know it today. This was done to prevent any outsider from taking over the company. But things were not so smooth. After the merger, Henry constantly had management disputes with the president of Moet Hennessy, Alain Chevalier. So to be in control, Henry asked a property developer named Bernard Arnault to be his ally. But Bernard had other plans.
I am very competitive. I always want to win.
Bernard bought a big portion of the company shares and secretly gained support from the Moet Hennessy family. Legal battles began, and the courts favored Bernard, forcing Henry to step down. Bernard Arnault is still the CEO of LVMH. Following the step down of Henry, sales of LV dropped, and the brand was considered a smaller brand compared to all the other luxury brands. The company decided to follow the footsteps of the founder, Louis, and came up with a new and bold idea to turn things around. The company invited famous designers to create handbags for its 100-year anniversary with the iconic monogram. At that time, such collaborations were a new concept, and handbags were not considered part of luxury. The idea took off and put LV back on the top. A year later, LV hired a designer, Marc Jacob, to be their first creative director. He launched LV's first ready-to-wear line and collaborated with high-profile designers like Takashi Murakami and Steven Sprouse. Since then, LV has gotten into watches, shoes, sunglasses, jewelry. They still make iconic bags as well. The company, to appeal to a younger, rich audience, has brought on influencers like Sophie Turner, Deepika Padukone, Emma Stone, and even Lea Seydoux, the Bond girl, to endorse their products. LV has recognized that consumers want more options and have a unique item, so they started collaborating with brands. Some successful collaborations happened with Supreme and one with Jeff Koons. LV produces limited amounts of products. Once they hit the sales target, they discontinue it, and the products that remain unsold are burnt off once a year. This is how they avoid discount sales, so they remain rare and exclusive. But being rare means more counterfeit products in the market. LV products are the most counterfeited among luxury brands in the market. One of the reasons that make LV products so expensive is they do not outsource the manufacturing from cheaper locations. Instead, everything is crafted and made in-house. In France, the craftsmen are trained by LV for 2 years. LV still makes custom trunks like Louis Vuitton himself made when he started the business. Trunks have been specially built for dogs, Barbies, golf clubs, and one even for a rubber duck, and one for a coffee maker. Today, LV is ranked number 1 as a luxury brand and is valued over $30 billion. And well, that's the story of how a homeless boy built a company worth billions in the luxury segment.
Okay, thank you guys for watching till the end of the video. My name is Rajat Nair, and if you liked what you saw, do hit the like button. It helps grow the channel. And if you would like to see more content like this, do subscribe. I will see you in the next one.